So,
hey Simon, how you doing? Good to see you.
Jason. I'm good, Jason. It's good to see you, and I'm looking forward to us chatting over the next half an hour a little bit about each other, our journey, and our work. So, maybe I'll ask you a question first, and we can alternate. So, tell me a little bit about your life to date.
Well, my life to date. Wow, that's a very large question to ask. I'm born in England. Born in a place called Silverdrift, which is on the border of Hertfordshire and Essex. Lived there for about 18 years, and then moved around a bit, and eventually ended up in London. My sort of career started there within the square mile of London. One of my first sort of sales jobs was selling connected digital photocopiers at that stage. So my role was to sell for the big companies within the square mile of London, which gave me a sort of huge experience and my first point of call within the sort of the business world. And then I moved, everyone was excited about the internet. So I went on, I thought, oh, I'm going to jump onto the internet and the bandwagon. And everyone was excited about that for about 2.5 years. And everyone was selling at that stage fast connection, broadband and all of that. And got excited about that. Then sort of shifted on 3 or 4 years later, traveled a bit around the world, New Zealand, Australia, and Thailand, and so on and so forth, and came back. Before I did that, I met an Irish lady in London, and then since about 2003, I think, yeah, about 2003, I moved here to Ireland, and various roles within corporates, to working in startups and various organizations like that. And I co-founded a couple of startups, and about 2014, I got a little bit, I wanted to start to investigate about myself and learn about myself. So I studied a lot of courses, tons and tons of courses, I can't tell you. So lots of NLP, psychology, training, coaching, neuroscience, and all of those sort of things, how to investigate myself so I can better myself in order to help other people. So transfer myself to where I am now. What I'm in the mood and the mindset for to doing is enabling people and teams to do better for themselves and to think better, more strategically, to push themselves in directions that they thought that they couldn't get to, so that they can communicate better and more effectively with other people in business.
I'll come back to how you describe what you're doing now, but maybe I'll so thanks for that. I'll share a little bit about my background. So like you, I was born in the UK, Anglo-Irish family, born in the UK. I started my career as a lawyer, as a solicitor, private practice solicitor in London. I worked for a period in Warsaw. I jumped about a bit because in Poland. I jumped out about a bit. It turns out that, law wasn't really for me, but it was a good base. So I was a lawyer for about a decade, and I worked for a few of the big law firms in London, one here in Ireland. I did technology law, aviation law, commercial law, and litigation.
Wow.
And then moved to Ireland. My wife's Irish. We moved here 20 years ago, and I ended up moving out of private practice law because it wasn't for me, into the business world, which really interests me. So I started off as the first ever legal counsel for Dell in Bray and Cherrywood. I was the head of legal for UK and Ireland home small medium business, which is a mouthful, but it was a $5 billion business based out of Bray, Cherrywood. And I was there. Then I was headhunted by another American company called Xilinx, amazing company that makes semiconductors. So we have this technology background. Yeah, and I was head of legal for Europe, Middle East, and Africa there. And then, to cut a long story short, at 39, I had my kind of a midlife crisis, and we decided we wanted to emigrate. So I emigrated for the second time, and we moved to Australia, Perth in Western Australia. I did an MBA. This is the short version. I ended up becoming general manager for an oil and gas business, CEO for an American multinational subsid, and then I was CEO for a not-for-profit. And then the third part of my career, since 2013, I've owned my own coaching consulting business, GCM/SimonHaigh.com. I've also been an entrepreneur, invested in businesses, startups, advise businesses, and I've been on 5 not-for-profit boards: homeless, Aboriginal business. So that's a little bit about my business life. I've also had a personal life that doesn't really tally with the LinkedIn profile. I've had quite some difficult times, and I reached a rock bottom 2009. And it's only this year I've started telling my story, not to brag about it or any ego, really just to start sharing some of the things I've gone through and some of the resilience I found in myself to try and inspire others. And so I guess, like you, my mission now is to combine my corporate background and my business leadership skills with some of the softer mindset, resilience, awareness stuff that I do. So it sounds like we've come to a similar place through different directions.
Yeah, and I think resilience is so apparent for all of us, and I think it resonates with me because life throws things at us at all times, and it's how we pick ourselves up. I posted something a little bit childish the other day on LinkedIn, but it was I think it was Life of Brian when the 2 soldiers were battling.
Yeah, I saw that.
The funny thing is, and I've done a presentation on this, but it's really to make a point that he's chopping his arms off and he still can go out and battle. Yeah. And then he chopped the other arm off, and he said, in his head, he said, "It's all right, I can headbutt you." And then he chops his leg off, but he's still going out there fighting. And then he chops the other leg off. He's still on the ground, but he's still wanting to go out and fight. Yeah. So that, for me, that is that sort of is a metaphor or analogy of how resilience can actually be. Is that fighting spirit that you still want to carry on, regardless of everything that's thrown at you.
Yeah. No, I agree. And so that's also what drives me. Is I see so many people struggling and looking for inspiration, and also thinking that if somebody like me who's been through the corporate world, I think there's this sort of feeling that there's some mysticism and they're uber intelligent. They're not. They've just worked hard. They've been organized and they've been resilient. And I think people think that the difficult things to receive in life are complicated. They're not. I think most things are simple if you slow down and you take time. So I spend a lot of my time, helping clients overcome roadblocks, achieve personal, professional success. And I use, my expertise in negotiating, deal making, leadership, mindset, brand growth to try and do that. And you and I, we're on our 2nd program with ISME. We gave a program on sales resilience, and we're now doing a program on building confidence to achieve growth.
Well, look at it this way. This is our 4th one, really.
It is.
So we did 2 physical workshops.
Yeah.
And now, because of the world just ballsed up a little bit, we're doing the online virtual workshops. Yeah. But the good thing, the exciting thing is we're spacing it out. And the area that we're starting off with is confidence, and throwing lots of questions back at people so that they can build their own resilience and ask themselves some questions, which is important.
So what kind of people, businesses do you work with or are ideal for the work that you do?
Well, I've sort of changed it from working with advertising agencies, which I've had a lot of experience with in the past, with dealing with ad agencies and working in agencies and having tech that works and sits within ad agencies. So really, I pushed on from there to working with SaaS companies, which is software as a service, some retail-orientated companies that they want to give value back to people and creating certainty. So I would be happy to look at the language, the tone, the pace, the mind, the mindset, and other things that's going on with them, so that they can communicate more effectively, but from a slightly different way to hopefully to a normal process. So they're the types of companies that I've been dealing with. Plus, there's another extension of other companies I've been dealing with.
Yeah. No, that and I'd be similar. So I guess what underpins most of what I do is helping leaders become more confident personally and also in the business life. And I do that through, I do consulting, coaching, advising, mentoring. I've written 3 books. I do a lot of things. I lecture, but my main clients would be divided into 3. So there's business schools. So I've had programs with Trinity, Queen's, Manchester University, Dubai, Southampton. I work with IES here, and I'm actually in discussion with a couple of other business schools. So that's business schools. And then there's the government funded bodies, which you and I are working with one, is me, but I've also done work with SkillNet, ICBE, and the Law Society in England. And then the corporates like you, PwC and MCS Solutions, and a whole bunch of aviation firms. So, and I find that when I give the corporate leadership, negotiation, deal making, growth training, 99% of the time, people come up to me at the end and say, what I really need help with is the stuff you and I do, which is confidence, awareness, resilience, self-awareness, situational awareness, all that sort of stuff. So it's a common theme, and it's become really, really important right now.
I think when you're at the top, you don't really have anyone to speak to, because everyone is throwing the emphasis on you as the leader, thinking that you know everything, that you're the oracle. But really, who do you speak to? What you have to speak to is a coach. I've just, interestingly enough, I've just read The $1 Trillion Coach by Bill Campbell, and he describes how he was helping the top of the top people, Steve Jobs and lots of other people like him, because Steve Jobs didn't have anyone else to speak to, because he's wonderful. So Bill Hart would come in there with his no bullshit attitude and put him straight into place. But it's to us, like, there is a crossroads between your personal and professional life, and one will affect the other, regardless of where you're actually at right now.
That's a really good point, because as you know, I took a punt, and I've just started this, what I call the Inspire 2020 Visionary Leader Series. And I've just reached out. I've been blown away, right? I've reached out I spent a week clearing up all my contacts. And then I reached out to some quite famous people who were on my contacts, who I was connected to in one way or another. And I've actually now built 16 international leaders are willing to talk to me, to give their time free. So they're great people, and they want to give back. And so I've already interviewed people like, Stephen Kelly, the ex-CEO of Sage, Ted Rubin, the CMO of Photify. I've got people like John Matone, Sally Helgeson, who is the world's leader on female empowerment. People like Eduardo Brasenio, who co-founded Mindset Growth, and the amazing Samantha Kelly here, who you and I know, and many others. And all of these people are willing to give their time and to help inspire others. And what I take out of this is that, and they've also, and Brian Main was the other one. Brian Main, 2 days ago, I spoke to, who's the founder of Goal Mapping, and he shared what you were saying there, which was that, and very profound. I mean, this guy is, like you and I, from England. He grew up in the Isle of Wight from a traveling family, and from a very reasonably poor traveling family. And by the age of 28, was very wealthy, right? Got into business, became very wealthy. And then by age of 29, lost it all, right? And actually had a £1 million debt, right, to his name. And went through a crisis, lost his marriage, and rebuilt his life. And in a vision, the whole idea of goal mapping came to him. And 25 years later, he's an international keynote speaker, has amazing clients like Disney and BT and all these clients. And what he says is that, and this is kind of the essence of you and me, Jason, this authentic leadership thing, that all human beings have two aspects. We have this kind of external ego aspect that a lot of us use on LinkedIn and various platforms, but we also have this real authentic aspect. And true authentic leaders, through crisis or some life-changing event or some awakening or enlightenment or spiritual experience, whatever you want to call it, those two merge and their true identity comes through, and that's definitely transpiring for me, because these people would not be talking to me if I hadn't given up drink a number of years ago, if I hadn't, doing a shout out here to great people like, Justin Caffrey, an amazing inspirer, right? And I've met others along the way. And if I hadn't been open-minded to talk to these people and meet people like you and talk to these visionaries and do some work with Sam Kelly, and there's been other people in spiritual programs, I wouldn't have that. These people wouldn't have connected with me, So that's what you're saying, isn't it? That you're never going to be truly successful if you don't accept your authentic self. If you keep acting, it's not going to happen for you.
Yes. I think that's absolutely crucial. But I think it's to give back as well. And I tell you something that I did today, funnily enough. I was on a webinar, and the person on the webinar just wasn't that good. I didn't think he was there, but he wasn't there. So after it, I just reached out to him afterwards and say, look, I hope you don't mind me giving you some feedback or feed forward, because I think you've got something there. I said, are you open to having this as a quick chat? And I left it like that. And he came back to me very quickly, said, yeah, no, please help me. Please help me. And then I just did a quick video call with him and said, look, I think you're really good. I think you just need to improve on your pace. You need to come across a lot more authentic, because you sounded wooden the way you came across to me. I felt like you're reading off a script, but also your pace and tone and all of that was just need to practice a little bit more. And he said, look, I really, really appreciate you reaching out to me. I just did it on the fly, and I thought, oh, I just have to reach out to someone just to show them that I care, but also hopefully he will remember that forever and a day, and he will give that back to someone else as life goes on. But it's just something example.
It's funny you should say that, because when I was speaking to Sam yesterday, Sam Kelly, she has a similar background to me, has had a similar journey and had a spiritual awakening, etc. And she said that when she was younger, she used to help a lot of people, right? And she didn't realize she was helping so many people. And years later, people would come back and thank her for the help she gave, you know, and I, similar for me, but then you kind of get lost in your own imposter syndrome, anxieties about life. You get lost in life, right? And you forget the good things you've done for people, and you get so self-centered and so wrapped up in your own world. And it's only when you start shedding that self, right, do you start reconnecting with people. And I think now is a real, I keep using the term circuit breaker. I mean, whether we like it or not, humankind is changed by what's happening, right? I very much doubt so many people will be getting in their cars and commuting 4 hours a day ever again, right? I very much doubt that the status quo will be what it was before. And so with that, I really hope that a new kind of awareness descends on more people. And what do you think about that?
I think it will. I was thinking about this earlier walking down to the shop. We've been conditioned now into a habit, because it takes a certain amount of time for us to be conditioned into avoiding people, which is unfortunate.
I know.
Being conditioned as we walk down, we have to go the other side of the street or the road or whatever, or when we get close to them, we sort of get 2 meters away. So at the moment, our mindset, and it's been installed, so now it's gone up to 50, 60 days or whatever it might be. This isn't now automatic. We're automatic.
It's 50 days, yeah.
So now as time goes on and we grow out into phase 2, which is next week for us, and then hopefully phase 3, which will come rolling in, I'd like to think that these habits that we've actually got pre-installed into our system now, it will carry on for hopefully a lot of people. Some people will organically come out of this habit. But I'd like to think that we've all improved and we've moved on. Something that came across me yesterday is speaking to my parents. They were rustling through diaries of my grandparents going through the Second World War and all the situations that had happened all through those times. And what a good thing is now for us to diarize what's actually we're going through now, or give our kids the tools. Say, look, why don't you diarize this? Because in 30 years' time, you're going to come back with a massive and amazing resource of what we actually went through in terms of resilience and care for. Because we're actually caring for more people now than where we did 2 or 3 months ago. So it's also we're going back to how we were in the 1940s in some respects, not all respects.
Absolutely.
Diarize it now.
Absolutely. So that brings me on to the next question then. So what problems, and this might sound a bit obvious, but what are the main problems that your clients or the people you're collaborating with or talk to, what are they facing from a business perspective?
I think they're a little bit uncertain. They're very anxious. They're very anxious. And someone reached out to me from a big tech company today, because I spoke to them, and they reached out to, can we have a chat about this, that, and the other? And he's a leader of, he's a general manager of and I think he needs help and he needs guidance.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know. I don't know, but what I can do is I can question him effectively to get him maybe start to think about what he needs to be putting into place by his own thoughts, because it's not my thoughts. It's for me to question that into him, for me to guide it through him. I think it is a little bit nervousness. Things will get back on track. It will just take, again, a little bit of confidence, sheer confidence and grit to get them back to where they need to get back and start making more money or whatever it might be.
You're right. Confidence is a big thing, and pragmatism and reality. And so, safeguarding your cash flow and credit lines and taking tough decisions, even though that's really hard for leaders to take tough decisions when there's no guarantee that this won't end quicker than people think, right? Conversely, this might go on for a long time. So leaders need to have that ability to make decisions with imperfect information. And how do you view success for you? I mean, what in terms of what you do, right? For you personally and then professionally, what does success look like for you right now, for example?
Success is, in a way, giving something back. Yeah. Success is getting myself out there with credentials and credibility and giving myself more credibility than I have. And to really focus in on, and just to sort of take a little bit of time out and go, well, I need to be doing this. I need to be structuring myself and organizing myself. So when we do get back into it and we are like rolling around again. But to be honest with you, at the moment, and I think we discussed this before, I don't feel anxiety at the moment. I really don't feel it. Maybe because February, I had a little bit of anxious because a friend passed away and all of that. And I wasn't 100%. But I just feel like everyone else is the same at the moment. And I don't, maybe it's just me. I just don't feel it.
It's funny you should say that, because somebody in marketing messaged. I got back on Facebook for the first time in 4 years, right? In fact, I've actually used this period, these 9 weeks, to really get back into the whole technology digital world. So but she connected with me on Facebook and said, we asked each other how we were, and she said, I'm doing really well because I'm actually using this time to reframe and catch up with all the things I always wanted to do. And so that's what I've been doing. I haven't actually felt really any anxiety over these 9 weeks because, in fact, I've just been so busy. My head's been down, and I've got a whole schedule of all the technology, digital things I should have done years ago, and I'm now plowing through. So I've done my first Twitter Live, YouTube Live here with you a couple of times. I've created this Inspire series. I'm now heavily on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I've now done Eventbrites, all these technology things that to be honest with you, I was so busy, or I thought I was busy when I was having meetings and coffee stuff. It just shows how much time I wasted doing that stuff. So I'm really using my time.
It's waiting around, buying the coffee, having a chat for an hour, and then driving home. So that's 2 or 3 hours gone in your day where you're more productive.
You can create a whole 2 of these, 4 of these in that time. So
how do you see in success right now for you?
For me, it's about, this Inspire series thing is just a huge thing for me, for little old me to connect with these world leaders, right? And I've reached out to 18 in 5 countries. Only one has said no, and the one other hasn't responded. 16, and these are major people have all said yes. So that really shows to me, and it should show to anybody who's listening to this, that anything is possible right now. And what I find is that the more senior people out there, because they've achieved stuff and they don't really have an axe to grind, right? And they're not encumbered by emerging ego. They've achieved it. I think they're more likely to give back than the most of us who are sort of battling to get on, right? If you know what I mean. The people at the top have achieved it. So that's been a real mark of success. Peace of mind, the fact that I haven't got anxious, and I've kept it all together, and I've managed to be busy. I've effectively, I mentioned Justin before, but he always said effective use of time, and that's really important. My wife always says to me, try and do three things try and maintain three things every day: positivity, calmness, and honesty, right?
Yep.
Honesty with myself, right? So I have PCH above everywhere around my laptop and everywhere. And I've tried my hardest to be positive, calm, and honest with myself. And so I guess that really summed it up. So for you, when people are feeling stress and stuck and overcome with anxiety, what two or three of that? What would be the top three things you would suggest people to do? Say the top three most important things personally.
The power of three is the most persuasive way of doing things because it's quite easy. Yeah. So, what can they do to overcome? I'd say stay calm, be yourself, and think about what you can do.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. For me, having a daily routine.
Yep.
For me, trying to get daily exercise in, whether it's a run, whether it's a 2-hour walk, whether it's a half an hour walk, whether it's a bike ride, it's really important to have that as a routine. And number three, mind your health. So, I mean, I don't drink, but try and minimize your alcohol, try not to smoke, try and eat well. And I think they're the three things for me. So what life
for me as well, actually, but I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So in terms of who would you most admire and why? Maybe 3-4 people you most admire. But they could be famous, they could be a spouse, they could be children, anybody.
I admire my parents because they're always giving back, and they always when I was growing up, they sort of brought me up in a really good way. We wasn't poor. We had a nice house. Maybe when I was younger, I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have done, but now I appreciate them, and I look up to them. My grandfather always sets in my mind as someone that always because he went through the war and everything else, but he gave us good advice all the way through, and he gave us some really good interesting story and insight. So I'd say definitely my family. There are several other people within. I do admire sort of probably talked about him, Owen Fitzpatrick and Brian Colbert. They're very influential in my life, and they sort of changed me in 2014 from where I was to how I'm thinking nowadays, and how much sheer confidence I've actually got. I've always been pretty confident, but now I'm thinking slightly differently than I ever used to.
Yeah.
I always had a little bit of spirituality behind myself based on my parents and my mum, who's always been quite spiritual, not religious spiritual, but because she used to be a yoga teacher and she used to meditate in the 70s, I brought that onto myself.
Yeah.
So that someone else, there's loads of other people and I can't really think of any of them at the moment. Can I throw that question back to you?
For me, from a family perspective, my two grandmothers, my Irish grandmother who left Ireland, my dad's mum, she left Ireland when she was a teenager from a very poor family in North Tipperary, moved to England. It sounds crazy, but she worked on building sites. She was a cook on building sites around England, and she used to bake these huge, great apple pies and fry breakfast for the builders. And she was just such a hard worker, and she saved everything was cash, right? So when she passed away, my father found £18,000 literally under carpets, and so that unbelievable work ethic that she had, I really admire. And then my English nan, my mum's mum, very different from East End London. She passed away when she was 97, right? And she started smoking. We mentioned the war before, but her house was literally bombed in World War II. One of those doodlebugs dropped on it in Leytonstone.
Can I ask you a question? Whereabouts in East London?
Leytonstone, E17.
That was very close to where my grandparents were in Hackney. So literally a couple of miles away.
I was born in Hackney.
Oh, really?
I was born in the Salvation Army Mothers Hospital, Clapton, Hackney.
Wow.
I'm actually officially a Cockney.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. But my nan, she actually started smoking. She took her husband's Woodbine cigarette when she was in the Anderson shelter and the house was bombed. We still have a photo of her that was ripped by the bomb. It survived. The house was destroyed. But she smoked all her life, like 40 a day, and she suddenly gave up when she was 90. We all thought she would die, but she continued for another 7 years. But she was unbelievably calm. She was the most calm person I've ever met. And I honestly think that even though she wasn't the healthiest, right, that calmness got her to 97. So I admire the work ethic of my grandmother and the calmness of my nan. And then in terms of other people, I think right now, nurses, like, it's just incredible. It's incredible. Like, I'm terrified the idea of going to a hospital, right? But they're working in there every day. It's incredible what they do. And I read something recently about, I think it was David McWilliams, I think, was talking about, wouldn't it be great if we all got paid on the basis of the work we do rather than how much we ask for? So senior executives are earning hundreds, thousands times more often than nurses, right? That's only because they shout louder. It's not because they're any better than nurses, right? Wouldn't it be great if we earned what we're valued at, right? Rather than how easy it is to shout. If you're a rich CEO of a big company, it's easier to shout and get millions, right? So I really admire that. I really admire what, the work they do. And I mean, in years to come, people will just look back and think, where were the politicians during this period? But we knew where the nurses were, So just to wrap up, if you could change one thing about you and then one thing about the world right now, what would they be?
I would probably get rid of a lot of the politicians and a lot of the leaders in the political parties and some blonde-haired buffoons that we know of on one continent and another one not too far away over the pond, if you know what I mean. Anything else change about myself? No, because if it did, I wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
So I can't change anything about me. All I can do is develop myself further so I can enrich my life, maybe to help others. I'm not trying to be spiritual here.
Yeah.
But that's the way I am at this stage of my life.
Yeah. And for me, it'd be exactly the same. I just think there are so many politicians, civil servants hanging out of the system, and are they really adding value in the world right now? I can't see it. I really can't see it. And then in terms of changing me, I think calmness doesn't come easy to me, right? Because I'm a very emotionally led person, and so I'd like to think that I could be even calmer than I am. I'm much calmer than I used to be, but calmness is so important for me because I tend to be, when I'm calm and I'm not anxious and I don't feel the butterflies in here, which do come, when I'm calm, I tend to find that I'm much more in a flow state and I achieve more, but I have to consciously take a breath and calm down. So they would be the two things. So Jason, so this has been a really cool chat. And where can people connect with you online?
LinkedIn is my number one source. You can find me on there. Just look at just do a search for Jason Cooper. So you'll see me on there. Website, it's going to be developed further. And I'm getting around to it, probably about another 4 to 6 weeks to go. jasoncooper.ie and Jason A. Cooper on Twitter and Instagram. What about yourself, Simon?
Well, I'm everywhere now on social media, but Simon Haigh, LinkedIn would be my main platform. I guess my second platform, considering I've been working with Sam Kelly, is Twitter, Simon Haigh.com. And then I'm also a little bit on Instagram, and I'm now back on Facebook. My website, simonhaigh.com, and I can be contacted, simon@simonhaigh.com. So anyway, Jason, it's been great chatting with you. And we're both looking forward to doing the next program with ISME. I don't know whether you just want to shout out the work that Adam's done there and what the name of the program is.
Well, let's give a shout out to Adam, who he is the head of training and development within ISME, and he's given back so much.
Yeah, he
has courses which will benefit the small to medium-sized businesses. So, done a good, courageous job right now. and that's going to really help him going forward. And for us, the new course, in fact, I'm going to throw that back to yourself, actually. What is the new course about, Simon?
It's about building confidence to help grow organizations. Building confidence to help grow organizations. We're also talking to the likes of UCD and other organizations and SkillNet, and because we have a wealth and a whole plethora of programs, and we're also happy to collaborate with others as well on this journey. You know, we're not precious about that. So anyway, Jason, it's been great chatting with you, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.
Take care.
See you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.